Alana, you formally announced that you were running again for the riding of Richmond late in the summer, and as a matter of fact, on the first day of the actual election campaign. Can you give us a sense of why you made your decision at that time and what was involved in making your decision to reoffer for the riding of Richmond?
So the decision to me, because this position is really all encompassing, and it does affect everybody around you. So as much as it's my name on the ballot and it's me who sits in the legislature, the seat, of course, in the legislature belongs to all of us. And I think sometimes, we other people may not look at it or think about it in that way, but truly, when I go to the legislature, everyone comes with me. They're there. It's our seat. And as well, when you are in this position, as I mentioned earlier, it's very demanding. And so I wanted to have a very frank conversation again with my family. My mom is 85, she's getting older. Chuck is my fiance, and we have not really spent a whole bunch of time together. We're like two ships passing in the night a lot of the time. He's very busy, and so am I. And so I just wanted to make 100% sure that I was going in the right direction. And also, there have been a lot of challenges over the last 4 years in being in this position. There's been a tremendous amount of work that I have absolutely loved to do. I love being the MLA when I am permitted to do so unencumbered, I guess is the best way that I can say it. I would love to be able to continue to, another 4 years or 3 years to finish what I started, because there's a lot of work still left on the table with both legislation and constituency files and negotiating projects that, will be in limbo, because whoever gets elected, if it's me, great, the work continues, as it has. And if it's somebody else, then, they have to start from scratch. And it's important for people to understand that it takes a while to be able to get used to the position, understanding, where everything is, how everything works. There's a lot, because there's the office here, and then there's the office in Halifax, there's the legislature, and it's a lot of learning. So the learning curve was very steep, and now that I feel like I'm, well versed, I've gone through a lot of experiences in the last 4 years, I'm ready to take it on again for the next 4 years. Absolutely.
It goes without saying that this has been a very eventful 4 years for you as the MLA for Cape Breton-Richmond. What are the most important lessons you've learned, either positive or challenges or both, that you think positions you well to be the MLA after Election Day?
Well, I think it's an extension of my life experiences. Life has not been easy. I brought up my son on my own as not a single parent, but an only parent. I went to university, lugging him along with me for, at nighttime, and worked sometimes 3 jobs to try and keep a roof over our heads and, food in our bellies and heat in our, in our house. And so I'm very well versed with the challenges that come with regard to not having been born with a silver spoon in my mouth. There were 5 of us in my family, and my father worked away most of the time on the lake boats. Many people here in Richmond, know my parents, and never heard an unkind word about my mom and dad. So I think for me, having had the experiences of 2 parents who really gave me a strong foundation growing up, living and growing up in this community. And, they say it takes a village to raise a child. I think it takes a village to raise a good politician as well, who, has their focus in the right place, which should always be for the people that you serve. And then when I, became an adult, and I had, certain challenges with being an adult, with trying to get my education and take care of my child and make sure that we had, housing and so forth, then, all those experiences that I have lived, my education, the jobs that I've held, in economic development and so forth, it's all transferable skills. that assist me in being, I think, a good MLA. Anyone that comes and asks for assistance from me, I always say it doesn't matter to me the color of your shirt. And truly, that has been the case right from the get-go, even though I ran under a political party banner last time around. I would say that when I would go to meetings. Really, I'm probably the least partisan person in the House, is what I used to always say. And sure enough, now that is true to form. I'm running as an independent, as everyone knows. It wasn't my choice, obviously, to do so. But I have to say that starting off under a partisan banner and learning, what happens in the back rooms, learning how all of that, structure works and protocols, and then becoming an independent and doing a deep dive into how the House, procedures and rules and regulations work for an independent was a real eye-opener for me. There's no transition team that parachutes down to help you to transition from partisanship to non-partisanship. And what I've learned, and it's been quite a gift for me, is that we need to do a massive renovation of our House of Assembly. All houses need to be renovated on occasion. And this one has not been renovated for a very long time. And I don't mean structurally. I'm talking about the rules, the very parliamentary system that we utilize in our democratic, the way that we see democracy.
Alana, as we were setting up for this interview, you and I were talking about how it seems like the repairs that were done to the Lennox Passage Bridge are a bit of a microcosm or a snapshot of how the provincial government looks at Richmond County and deals with issues in the county. Can you expand on that a little bit in terms of issues coming up in this election campaign?
I think it's a provincial problem with Department of Transportation. Really, I know there's a lot of money and some good work being done on our 100 series highways. It's needed. I'm a proponent for twinning the highways. It's extremely important. We've had way too many people who have lost their lives in certain areas in Nova Scotia due to the highway not be twinned. So, two thumbs up for that. When it comes to our rural communities, we have gravel roads, we have the 100 series highways, we have our trunk highways. It's a complex system of interlocking transportation infrastructure, including bridges. And here in our constituency, we are blessed with two bridges that open. We have the Canso Causeway that also opens. And here at Lennox Passage, when I was first elected, the bridge was in deplorable condition. But also, it is the case with the Port Royal Bridge. Now, when you're a new MLA and you're coming into the position with two multi-million-dollar messes on your hands, and people are upset, and rightly so. These are safety issues. So Lennox Passage Bridge was so bad that you could not open the bridge any longer. It was welded shut. Because if you opened it, basically the steel expands, and so on hot days, you would not be able to close the bridge again if you opened it. So the structure was decaying. The abutments were basically falling inwards, and the steel also, a lot of the steel needed to be replaced. So it was a mega project, and it ended up costing a lot more than they had anticipated, which is why it had to be done over the course of 2 years. And I'm very proud of the work that not only I did, but also in bringing community members from the marinas that were suffering from the fact that boats were no longer able to get through as they had in the past. Our economy was suffering because of it. So again, it's that lack of foresight. Is that lack of understanding that there is a ripple effect when you don't do the proper planning and proper investments into infrastructure, into healthcare, into housing, into education, all of those things. And again, we've had all kinds of different political parties sitting in government. These are not issues that have happened just in the last 4 years. Political parties perhaps should take a little bit of care when they start finger pointing at one another, and understanding that this problem has long been coming down the pipe. when I go to the doorways, and I love campaigning. I love being able to go to the door and speak with people, especially now after COVID-19. And it feels like we're getting out of jail. It's I feel like I'm on vacation, going door to door, talking to people. It's fantastic. Healthcare is always the primary concern, and we have to put our focus there. But the way I look at things, and maybe it's a bit differently, which both gets me in trouble sometimes because I'm trying to communicate a concept that perhaps somebody else doesn't quite see. But the way I see it with healthcare, with transportation, with all of these things that again seem like massive crises, we have to look at the root of what is causing these crises. And it's not just about, there's not been enough money invested or it's a lack of planning. We have to take a look at what is causing people to be so unhealthy that, we're utilizing 50% of our budget on healthcare in the province. We do have obviously an aging population, and I know that accounts for some of it. But there's an increasing amount of people who need dialysis. There's an increasing amount of people that need knee replacements, hip replacements. There's an increase on many, many different health issues. Mental health is on the rise. And, I want to talk about what is causing these, what are the causes of these problems? Because if you can get to the root of the issue and fix that at the very foundation level, just like I was talking about the foundation of the rules and procedures of the House of Assembly, if you can fix, what's wrong with the foundation, then it's so much easier to probably see gains in the rest of, the departments and the rest of, where government has to invest their time, their management, and their money. Healthcare, for example, it's unethical from my perspective, the way that we treat our healthcare workers. When you are talking to healthcare workers who are under gag orders, that they cannot speak with regard to the issues that they are really struggling with. How am I, as an MLA, supposed to be able to assist with the problem unless somebody feeds me information on the side? I mean, we shouldn't have to try and get our information through, that kind of a source. We should be listening to healthcare workers directly. They're the ones who are providing patient care, and we need to listen to them. They have the solutions. It's not the solutions that come from us and top down. Solutions, as I have found working in economic development, come from the ground up. And I'm a true believer in that. And I think here in Cape Breton, with, in Antigonish, the Coady Institute, but with all the cooperative structures, especially in the Acadian communities, that have historically been a huge part of our way of doing things. I truly believe that it's not just sad, it's just wrong that we are treating people in this manner and telling them to stay quiet on issues that are affecting them and eventually affect all of us, obviously, who are, those who ask for assistance, as patients. With transportation, we've already spoken about that. It's not about, just throwing more money into the budget. Again, there's management issues there with regard to how money is being managed within the department. There are issues, obviously, that we have seen a massive increase in the price in everything since COVID. So we're not going to get the same bang for our buck this year as far as projects. I was astounded when I was first elected that there's not really any prioritization system in place within a Department of Transportation. So many people don't understand this, but as an MLA, it is me who is asked, what roads is it that you think that we should be working on? And so all the road projects that are around the constituency, I negotiated on behalf of the people here in Richmond. And a lot of people don't know that. They think that, those decisions are made by staff, but I'm a huge part of that process. And I'm very grateful that I have been able to grow very healthy and collaborative relationships within all departments, but especially the Department of Transportation, which again is a massive amount of the phone calls that come into my office are about roads and bridge issues. We have affordable housing issues for both families and seniors. I personally think that seniors who, my grandmother grew up. I grew up with my grandmother in our household. My dad, again, being away most of the time, trying to earn a living for all of us to be able to have a good standard of living at home. My grandmother and my mom were the primary caregivers, and so, I grew up really respectful of my grandmothers. I didn't have the opportunity to meet my grandfathers. They had passed away when both my parents were very young from tuberculosis. But my grandmothers were instrumental in my upbringing. My elders in my community, my aunties, my uncles, my tati, they were very, very instrumental in my upbringing. And we were taught to respect our elders. And I think that there was a great deal of disrespect towards our elders in many ways right now. Through not having, enough palliative care facility. Our capacity is just not enough. I mean, it's a great facility that's been a wing opened up in Antigonish. Well, I think that we should have that here within Richmond as well. I know that the Villa in St. Anne's does an amazing job with the patients, the residents that are within the long-term care facilities there. We're very fortunate to have them. We're very fortunate. But again, they are not being funded enough so that those nurses, the staff, the CCAs especially, I mean, it's just awful with regard to the way CCAs are being treated, because there's just not enough funding and not enough CCAs per patient, and you have CCAs that are just not able to keep up with it. So they're getting sick, they're getting hurt because they're having to do too much. We're asking too much of them. And of course, residents at the end of the day are the ones that are paying for it, right? They're not getting the level of care that they need. And I'm going to say this too, that the government talks a really good game about wanting to keep seniors in their homes. There's all kinds of grants about trying to keep seniors in their homes, whether with, trying to make them more accessible or putting a new roof on and so forth. I have been advocating since the get-go, because when I campaigned in 2017, I remember going door to door in Port Hawkesbury specifically. There's one lady who was cresting her 90s, living at home by herself still, and who was telling me that she couldn't access grants for upgrades because she was only $200 over the threshold. And I thought to myself, this is terrible. This is not right. And I've been advocating for them, which to me seems sensible, to implement a sliding scale system. So if you're $500 over the threshold, then you receive a certain percentage. Maybe you don't receive 100%, but you receive at least something, not nothing. $500 is not going to put a new roof on your house. It's going to take you a while. By the time you're ready to have enough money or save enough money to put a roof on top of your house, your house is probably going to be in deplorable condition. So that has to change from my perspective. The Liberal government that has been in has not wanted to budge on that. And I personally will continue to advocate for that, because I think it's absolutely wrong. I'm very concerned with regard to the lack of investment that was made during COVID by the province to assist, tourism, to assist businesses, but in assistance in particular with community halls. And again, I was advocating during COVID that these halls, the Legions, the halls, our fire halls, they had to make do with what they could with, doing kind of chase the ace and raffling, but they were not able to do any of their regular fundraising for which takes care of their operational costs. Some halls were able to, do fine because they had a bit more padding in their bank account, but others really, really suffered. And no assistance was provided for community halls. Legions received some through the federal government. I know that the fire halls were doing, again, some of their own fundraising in the ways that they could. But yeah, community halls and fire halls overall really suffered. You still have to pay the light and the heat, and some halls have mortgages attached to them. Those things all still have to be paid, and it's very difficult when you don't have money coming in to be able to do that. During COVID-19, it was an extraordinary experience. This whole 4 years, really, when I think back on it, has been extraordinary.
You've said more than once, not only in this interview but in others, that you've been through a lot in your 4 years and 3 months as an MLA. What keeps you going, not just during that type of period, but during an election campaign like this? What keeps you focused and what keeps you wanting to serve the people as an independent MLA after August 17th?
I have a very difficult time with inequity. And when I'm seeing that occur at the highest levels of our, system of governance, it motivates me to make certain that I do something about it. It also motivates me when I have people who are calling me for assistance and they are being treated inequitably or unjustly. I am motivated to help them. I'm a helper, I think it was Mr. Rogers that's used to say, always look for the helpers. And I want to be a helper. I was brought up to help people. So I'm trained from a young age to help people. It's a natural predisposition. I'm not in this for myself. This position takes a lot of dedication and a lot of determination. You need to be ready to basically put your own life on hold for the most part. If you're really, truly going to give, your best at this position. And this position, again, is as, we're called members of the Legislative Assembly. Really, what does that mean? As a legislator, I'm a lawmaker. My position is to assist in making life better for people by either changing, adapting, or introducing brand new law that will assist people in my constituency and across the province. I personally think that we don't focus enough attention on that. As MLAs, we focus our attention on a lot of other things, and sometimes laws get passed where perhaps there's not enough input by all MLAs. We're not given an opportunity to give enough. That's, again, a whole different conversation about how the system needs to change. Our structure as a whole, and again, we live in a beautiful place. Please don't get me wrong. I'm very grateful for the wind through the trees right now where I'm sitting currently, and I'm very grateful as a woman, the only woman who is a candidate here, that I'm very grateful to be able to put my name on a ballot, because in many places you're not able to do that. And so for me, the main motivator is that I want to be able to help people. I often refer to myself not as a politician, but as a facilitator. I want to make things easier for people. The word facile en français, de faire des choses plus faciles pour tout le monde, to make things easier for all people. And that's, my main motivator. I'm not in this for myself. That seat does not belong to me. It belongs to all of us. And it's been my honor and my pleasure to work on behalf of all of us. Because in my mind, it's we. It's we. It's not them and us. It's just us or we. And I would like to think that more politicians go into the legislature who are thinking more about the collective good than perhaps their own benefits privately.